N'Keal Harry was an absolute steal at 32. What are you guys talking about? Forget Tom Brady's passing numbers. He's the GOAT because he was the best punter in the NFL. I take Johnny Hekker over Patrick Mahomes to be my quarterback any day.
Welcome to the No Punt Intended Sportscast with your host, Parody 07.
Welcome back to the No Punt Intended Sportscast. I'm back here with the DAWGS. And you have a broken host this week. I really feel hurt, betrayed, downright downtrodden. But I'm going to allow the DAWGS to steal the show for you guys. It's not like you come here.
What happened what happened? I don't know.
Look, all right. We're not going to get into Dogs of the Week, but when the Dog of the Week is the coach of the other team that played my New England Patriots, that usually means I'm disappointed in my New England Patriots. So maybe a little bit of a spoiler there, but we'll see. But yeah, there's a couple of us who had some rough weeks. Some of us had a little bit better weeks.
I guess I'm my team's the first team to have a win out of all three of our teams.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
The only team to have a win.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
But still early.
Yeah. You're the first one to get a win and get your pick right at the same time, too.
That's true.
Both
of them were low-scoring games, though.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
At least all three of our games were low-scoring.
Yeah.
For sure. But some of us had hurt from the other side of the screen, but some of us had hurt in person. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. LB was on the scene, on the prowl at the Panthers Saints game on Monday Night Football. And he got to see his boys in person and got a great look at Bryce Young and Brian Burns and Derek Carr, because he loves Derek Carr, right?
Everyone loves Derek Carr.
Right?
Yeah.
But we're going to let him... I'm setting up a soapbox for him. He's got the mic. I'm going to let him talk about the good, the bad, and the coaching of the Carolina Panthers for week 2. But it sounds like he's got a lot to say. So, LB, the floor is yours. Tell the good people why they should or should not believe in your Carolina Panthers.
Oh, don't even fool yourself like I pretended. I thought we were going to have some sort of production early in the season. They are on the verge of a dumpster fire this season. It's not looking great, boys. You know, I'm a very pessimistic person generally. And then for whatever reason, when it comes to the Carolina Panthers football, I turn into the most optimistic person of all time. And guess what? Year in and year out, I get my hopes up and I ultimately just get disappointed. And well, what do you know? 2 weeks into the season, I'm 0-2 in my predictions. Go figure. Carolina's offense stinks. Their defense is great, but we have so many injuries. We're like Swiss cheese out there. It's not looking good. So, yeah, I was at the game on Monday night. Super fun atmosphere, despite losing. It's just always good to go and support the home team whenever you get a chance. It's not every night that your team gets to play at home on Monday Night Football.
That's true.
I think it had been like 5 years since Carolina had a Monday night game. So that was exciting to be able to go to. I've never been to a Monday night game, so that was really fun. And so it was good to go. But man, Carolina's offense stinks. They have no weapons. They can't keep Bryce healthy. I mean, he's already got an ankle injury. And if anybody listened to the pod this offseason, that was my number one concern. And here we go, week 3. He's already missing a game against Seattle with an ankle injury. It's not looking good. there's no productivity. We can't move the ball. We can't stretch the field. We can't score points. I mean, there's nothing we can do offensively. It's just there's nothing going. So that sucks big time. It's just hard to win games when you can't score points, and it's frustrating because I think there is something there. We just can't get all the pieces to the puzzle put together properly, and it's just kind of clunky, and there's no real rhythm. There's no scheme. It looks like it's just we're running, intermediate short throws. We can't run the ball. We just can't do anything, and it's frustrating to watch as a fan, and just as a fan of good football in general. I mean, Carolina's offense is not producing that. Their defense is playing lights out. But they give up points in large part because of field position, because their offense can't flip the field. We can never help them out. We can't play complementary football. So, and you see the final score, New Orleans put up 20 points, but really that game was much closer than that. And really, in my opinion, 6 points for New Orleans should have come off the board. There was a Mickey Mouse freaking pass interference against Carolina in the first quarter on the left sideline. It was the most soft baby back call I've ever seen, and that kept their drive alive. Of course, it was on 3rd and long, and then New Orleans converts on a long field goal. And then in the third quarter, there was a play down the left sideline. My left, it would have been the right from the TV copy, on a go ball. And originally, the refs called the receiver out of bounds, that he didn't have possession in bounds. And then they came over the intercom and said, yeah, after further discussion, the receiver caught the ball, and they didn't even review it. So I was super confused about that. From my angle and from the field, Jumbotron, it looked like the dude landed clear out of bounds, like on the white and the grass at the same time. So that should have been an incomplete pass. And of course, that sets them up inside the red zone. Defense makes a stand. They kick another 3 points for a field goal. So, I mean, really, you could, in theory, take 6 points off the board, and that's a whole other game. But, hindsight's 2020. You can't blame the refs for everything. Obviously, Carolina sucks on offense, so that doesn't help.
That offensive line, I think, is the root of it.
Yeah, we gave up 4 sacks.
When I was watching, he just had no time. It was always just every play, it seemed.
Yeah, and we went away from the run game. Like, I'll just read you some stats right quick. It was just frustrating because week 1 against Atlanta, we ran the ball pretty well. But this week, the final stat line for our rushing yards was 100 yards. But which at first glance seems pretty good. If you can run the ball for 100 yards, that's not bad. But if you take away one of Bryce Young's long scrambles for 34 yards, which happened late in the game, our actual running backs ran the ball for 69 yards. Miles Sanders had 14 carries for 43 yards, and Chuba had 2 carries for 16. So we couldn't do anything. I don't know why we didn't have Chuba involved more in the run game. We were rotating him against Atlanta and seemed to have some success. So I just don't know what we're doing. And Craig's calling the plays still, and to me, there just seems like there's no real scheme. We try to force feed Adam Thielen in the passing game, but he's not a vertical threat. He can't take the top off the defense, so they can just smother our pass game. And 2 weeks into the season, they've done that so far. We don't have a vertical threat, and it shows. And when you don't have that, teams will just sit at 20 yards and keep everything in front because they know they're not getting burned over top. And Bryce had 1 completion against the Saints for over 20 yards, and that was it. Everything else was under 20 yards. So there's no vertical threat. We can't get any separation. We can't run the ball. We just have no offensive identity. It's just frustrating.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, the good seems to be the defense and the bad seems to be the offense. But I'm curious, is there anything at all from what you've seen out of your offense that you're like, you know what, even though there's all this crap going on, there's this one thing is something positive we can take from the offense? Is there anything like that for you, or is it just everything is just broken at this point.
Well, I think the good on offense would be more player specific.
Okay.
I think as a unit, there's not much good to take from. I mean, week 1 we scored 10 points. Week 2 we scored 17. We can't move the ball. I would say the good offensively is Bryce Young's ability to throw with anticipation and maneuver the pocket a little bit. Obviously, he's had a couple sacks both games, and there's one in particular against the Saints right before halftime that it was a strip sack. We were on their 18-yard line about to score. That can't happen. You know, that's so that, you know, there's sacks there, but as a rookie, still figuring out the speed in the NFL, he's seemed to been able to maneuver the pocket a little bit, throw the ball on time, patient, which is good. So I think the skill set is there, but he has no help, man. Like when I said, you can't run the ball. We don't get any separation at any position at wide receiver. You know, we get smothered, and he has no help. You know, he can't catch the ball for these guys. He had one ball to Mingo in the third quarter. It would have been a nice first down, and Mingo just drops. I mean, he hit him perfect square in the numbers.
Jeez.
So he's distributing the football, but again, he's got to have help. And when you're taking sacks that are self-induced, that hurts, obviously. But then when you're making throws and guys aren't catching it, that's even worse. And then especially when you can't get separation, because there's not many opportunities for these Carolina receivers and Bryce Young to stretch the field and make big chunk plays, because we're not going to dink and dunk our way in the NFL to any wins. It's just, that's not how this game's played anymore. Defenses are too good, especially opposing offenses when they're scoring points left and right. You know, we can't compete. And it's just been this, you know, same story, different year. I mean, we haven't had a true number one receiver since Steve Smith. Now that we traded away DJ. DJ was our guy, and he was a true number one receiver in this league. And like I mentioned in this offseason episodes, like, I understand you have to give up guys and picks and leverage to get to that number one spot, but you know you're going to take a quarterback, and knowing that you need guys to throw the ball to. You know, he was our vertical threat. He was our yards after the catch guy. I mean, he did it all, and we let him go. And it's certainly showing now on offense. I mean, Bryce threw the ball 22 times for 153 yards against the Saints. I mean, that's not his fault. I mean, there's no vertical threats. You know, most of his completions were within 10 yards, 15 yards max. So there's no one there. We have no weapons. We traded away Christian McCaffrey. I'm happy for him being out in 49ers. That team is an absolute juggernaut. I hope they go and win the Super Bowl. He deserves one. And he got out of the dumpster fire that is Carolina right now. So good for him. Sucks for DJ because, ironically, I think he went to an even worse offense in the Bears, and I didn't know that was possible coming from Carolina. So that sucks for him. You know, I hate that for him. But yeah, man, there's not much to be excited about for Carolina offense. And then, of course, to make matters worse, Shaq Thompson's probably out for the year with a broken ankle.
Yeah.
So that's just, you know, it seems like when it rains, it pours. And just all across the league, honestly, with injuries, there's just take away Carolina. But I mean, Chubb was hurt. Trayvon Diggs got hurt this week at practice. He's out for the year with the ACL. I mean, it's just, I don't know what y'all's opinions are on it, but it seems like there's just so many big time injuries popping up this year, and it's hurting teams, man. And it's hard to go win when you can't stay healthy.
Yeah. There's a lot of running backs that got injured. I saw a post somewhere, and they listed like 6 or 7 starting running backs that have gotten injured.
Yeah, how dare they ask for more money and then they can't stay on the field?
Yep. You know,
I'm actually on their side, by the way. I think running backs ought to be paid because they take the most punishment out of any player in the league. But.
Yeah, it's a weird situation with running backs because, like, there's definitely a lot of them that do deserve to be paid, but the teams just know that they can kind of get away with not doing it.
Right.
So, you know, and it's sad to see with all the injuries, you know, like with Nick Chubb, with Austin Eckler, Evan Hull, who's the rookie, and with the Colts, he's out for the season. as well. So
No, their running back's name is Anthony Richardson. What are you talking about?
that's well, he's out too, I guess.
Dude, yeah, he's out 2 weeks with
Yeah, he didn't
came out
finish
week
either
1 and then
game.
week 2 with a concussion.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
finish either game.
So what's actually really funny is that when we just anyways, go ahead.
What? No, you go ahead. I didn't have anything else to say.
No, it's very fascinating that the teams like with rookie quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young, like they had veteran quarterbacks as their backups. Andy Dalton with the Panthers and Gardner Minshew with the Colts, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I get like people forget the importance of having a good backup quarterback, but
Right.
It's important, or you get a situation like you have with the Jets. So
It's true.
Yeah,
It's
seriously.
true. I mean, I think I could bring that Jets team to a playoff run. All I have to do is hand the ball off a few hundred times a game, and then maybe roll out
Yep.
every once in a while and hit a
it's true.
wide open Tyler Conklin in the flat. I mean, and if all else fails, just throw the ball as far as I can up to Garrett Wilson, who is an 80-20 guy when you do that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Zach Wilson couldn't be in a better situation. Even though the Jets could be in a better situation, Zach Wilson could not be in a better situation.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
But so that was the good and the bad. The coaching of the Panthers, mostly bad coaching.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
Well, not even coaching. Well, offensively, yeah, but like it's just bad football and offense, man. Like
yeah,
we're just I would say the coaching emphasis has to be going forward. Just take some shots, man. See what you have, weapon wise, because we don't have any tape on what these guys can do because we're not giving them opportunities. And even if we take shots and it's incomplete or whatever, there's always a possibility that you're going to get pass interference. I mean, the refs love calling that in this league, and it's a spot foul, so that is just as good as a catch. Like
right.
Yeah.
just throw it up, man. Give your guy a chance. Maybe you get pass interference called, which you hope it doesn't come down to that. Like you would hope you have a number one guy you can just throw a ball to and he can go get it. Carolina, I don't think has that, so we're gonna have to get creative. And offensively, we haven't gotten creative at all. I don't think it's been very vanilla, very predictable. So I think that'd be the coaching emphasis going forward. Defense, they played well, man. They've played great. Win both games. They had a turnover this past game, 4 sack. So they're doing their job. I think in the NFL, if you hold a team to 20 points, you should have a decent chance to win. I don't think that's a ton of points in this league. I'm not saying you're going to win every game if you hold a team to 20 points, but I think your odds of winning are relatively good at 20 points. It's just we don't have an offense to compete with that right now. So
Are you sure you're talking about the Panthers? It sounds like you're talking about New England.
Dude, same with them, man. Same with them. I know you can get into that soon. I think we're similar stories right now in terms of how the teams are structured and kind of the struggles each team faces.
Right. No, I agree. But just to remind people of a couple things here, LB has for his team MVP, so not league MVP, his team MVP is Brian Burns. And that definitely seems like that's going to be the case as of right now if things keep going the way they are. He has 49ers winning the Super Bowl, and he has Tyson Bagent starting a game in 2023 and winning a game in 2023. And if you listen to the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Bears, as long as Justin Fields doesn't stop calling out his coaches and his coaches stop getting swatted by the FBI, there could be some real turnover there, and which could lead to turnovers in which then Tyson Bagent ends up on the field. So I think that LB's predictions outside of his game predictions have been much better than the rest of ours, because I have not heard anything positive about George Karlaftis.
Hey, he had 1.5 sacks against the Jaguars.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, he had a good game. I mean,
well, get into it then. Let's hear the good and the bad, the coaching of the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Chiefs. So yeah, the good is definitely the defense. We allowed only 9 points against the Jaguars, which is not a bad offense at all. 9 points. We stopped them twice on 4th down conversions. Didn't have any interceptions, but we did we cover a fumble. But yeah, no, our defense is looking very good right now. And part of the reason for that is that Chris Jones came back. He's no longer holding out. And that defense had 4 sacks, 1.5 by George Karlaftis, 1.5 by Chris Jones, and then 2 other guys had like a half a sack each. So it was a pretty good day on defense. We allowed 21 points. Actually, the defense only allowed 14 points against the Lions in the first week because one of those was a pick 6.
That's right.
One of those touchdowns was. And then 9 points against the Jaguars. And which was like we stopped them every time they got to the red zone and forced them to kick field goals. And one of those times is the Jaguars started within field goal range already, and we stopped them 3 and out. So, I mean, if our defense can play this well, and once our offense can, get into its rhythm, which, I mean, we only scored 17 points, which isn't great, but I'm pretty sure Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and Patrick Mahomes will figure out a way to score points, So I'm not too worried about that long term. So if our defense can, be top 10 in the league, it could be a pretty scary team.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Now on to, I was about to put in the good that there were no major drops by wide receivers, but then I decided not to because that should just be the standard. That shouldn't be,
That's fair.
So you guys didn't mess up there.
I mean, it was so unbelievably like contagious the week before. So
yeah, it's good compared to how bad it was.
Right. It's good by comparison for sure.
Good by comparison.
It's like you got 2 chicks and one of them's a 3 and one of them's a 6. Neither of them's a 10, but the 6 is definitely an improvement.
Exactly. It's all about comparison. It's all about comparison. You can be like, anyways. But yeah, like all the wide receivers did well. Better. Like Tony had, I believe, 5 catches. Not a ton of yards, but he had like 5 catches. Sky Moore had a touchdown and a deep catch late in the game to seal it up. So yeah, no complaints by the wide receivers, and Travis Kelce was back and had a touchdown. But with the bad, it's not looking good because we're shooting ourselves in the hand. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do you shoot yourself in the hand? I don't know, and that's exactly the point. Yeah. I don't know, but we are intentionally, it seems, to be hurting ourselves and putting ourselves in a hole, both in the Lions game and especially in this game. We had 2 lost fumbles, an interception, and we had 12 penalties for 94 yards.
Oh my goodness.
And I believe 2/3 to 3/4 of those penalties were on offense. So in all honesty, when I was watching the game, the offense looked pretty fine. Like there was no real bad throws except the interception. They were catching it. The running was doing well. Like there was nothing wrong. The problem is that we'd get penalties and then we'd be like, 1st and 20. And then we'd get like 15 yards and, be 4th and 5 and we'd have to punt. Right. So if it wasn't for the penalties, I believe we would have probably been close to 30 points, if not 30 points.
Wow.
But having 12 penalties for 94 yards is insane.
Yeah.
And we lost the turnover battle horribly. So, because we had 3 turnovers, and then Tony, while he did play well, did fumble, but he recovered it. So, he recovered his own fumble, so you can't hold that against him, I guess. But
well, you can, but
you can a little bit. At least it wasn't as bad as some of the other players.
Right.
But so yeah, if we can fix up those mistakes, that'll be good. And which leads me to the coaching. And the coaching, it's very fascinating. This is kind of the story of the week for like in Kansas City. It's the deconstruction and rebuilding of an offensive lineman. Now, everyone or most people have heard the name Jawan Taylor.
Right. I was about to ask about him.
The Lions, because everyone was complaining about how he started, or his false starts, they were saying, and how he was lining up.
Right.
So during the Jaguars game, the referees made it an especial point to make an example out of him. I believe he had 4 or 5 penalties just by himself.
I was going to say, I wonder how many of those offensive penalties were him getting a head start.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to have a little gripe here. A little bit of a gripe.
Okay, let's hear it.
Now, on the lineup, right, like for the Lions, like, because, everyone thinks about the Lions game.
Right.
Him lining up, that's completely, like, understandable. Yeah, he is lining up really far back.
Right.
Now, with the false starts, people are like, he's false starting every single play. But that's not true. If you look at the video, you can see that he does something very similar to, I forgot what the lineman's name is, but I believe the left tackle with the Eagles. They start at the exact same time as the center, because when you're on the line, you have to start when the center starts, not when the ball's per se snapped, but when the center begins the process of snapping. And when you see clips and you slow them down, there's some good videos like analyzing this. And again, not every single one. Like, obviously, there's probably ones he did go early.
Right.
You see him and our center, Creed Humphrey, moving at the exact same time. Frame by frame. Now, this is going to be like a second before the ball's actually snapped. So it looks like he's moving quicker. But he's actually starting at the exact same time because he's starting right on, the hard count.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But because of how much of a fuss everyone made about it, the referees were kind of trying to make an example out of him, even though in, 6 weeks, I guarantee this is not even going to be an issue. The Eagles lineman who does the same thing, he has a kickback thing. That's what it's kind of called. He does kind of the same thing that Jawan Taylor does, and he wasn't called for anything about that in their Thursday night game. And apparently, if you watch the most recent Thursday night game with the 49ers and the Giants, offensive linemen cannot start, frame perfect with their center, but they can definitely punch the other team, So it's frustrating because that they are definitely targeting him to make him an example. And again, not saying that there aren't times when he is, obviously. But the biggest issue with that is that now the coaching is going to have to try to change how he's played, because he's played like this forever. It's nothing new. He did it with the Jaguars the year before. So they're going to kind of have to mess around with how he's always played, which is going to be tough.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how he does against the Bears. So, anyways, that's the good, the bad, and the coaching for the Chiefs.
Wait. Before you go, I have an announcement. The No Punt Intended Sportscast has officially gone viral. Well, not really. We just have an Instagram now. So if you want live updates on when we're going to be posting, a little bit of news about our respective teams, or if you just want to see a funny meme or two, go ahead and give us a follow and subscribe while you're at it. All right, guys, toodles.
Thank you for listening to the No Punt Intended Sportscast. Be sure to check out the Thinking Hound and to like, share, and subscribe.